Silence is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength, control, and mastery. In a world obsessed with noise, with constant updates, opinions, and the need to be seen, silence has become rare, and that's why it's so powerful. When you choose silence, you choose focus, you choose discipline, you choose to operate on a level most people can't even understand. Because silence isn't about saying nothing, it's about saying nothing until it matters. It's about moving in purpose without seeking permission or applause. Most people talk because they're insecure, they need validation. They want the world to see that they're doing something, even when they haven't done anything yet. But you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. When you're silent, you hold your power, you keep your momentum, you move strategically, not emotionally. Think about it. Lions don't roar before they attack. They move quietly, patiently, until the moment they strike. Winners do the same. They work behind the scenes, building, improving, learning, and preparing, while the loud ones are busy talking. The silent ones are becoming. And when the time comes, their results make all the noise that's needed. You don't have to announce your every move. Your success will do that for you. When you start keeping things to yourself, your energy shifts. You begin to hear your own voice more clearly. You start to feel God's direction more strongly. You stop being distracted by opinions and you start being guided by purpose, because silence creates space for clarity, space for peace, and space for growth. Every word you speak carries energy. When you constantly talk about your plans, your dreams, your goals, you release energy that should have been used to build them. You're leaking power. You're giving away your advantage. Silence protects that. It builds internal pressure, the kind that makes diamonds. While others are wasting time seeking approval, you're investing your time in execution. You're not out there making noise about what's coming. You're in the shadows crafting something that will demand attention when it's ready. You don't owe explanations to anyone. You don't need to defend your decisions. Your focus, your discipline, your silence, that's your defense. Silence also exposes people. When you stop reacting, you start revealing. You see who's truly for you and who is just around for the conversation. When you stop sharing your every detail, you find out who still supports you even when they don't know what's going on. Silence filters your circle. It eliminates the noise of doubters, haters, and energy drainers. It reminds you that not everyone deserves access to your process. Your silence teaches boundaries. It teaches control. It teaches patience. And patience is where power lies. Because every moment you stay quiet, you're teaching yourself to respond with wisdom, not emotion. Most people can't handle silence because silence confronts them. It forces them to face their doubts, their fears, their lack of focus. But those who master silence master themselves. You can't be distracted by outside noise when you're locked into your own mission. You become untouchable because the less they know, the less they can interfere. You stop reacting to critics, you stop competing with noise, and you start operating in purpose. You start to understand that your destiny doesn't require announcement, only action. Silence doesn't mean inactivity. It means intentional activity. It means you're moving without broadcasting. You're improving without validation. You're winning without the world even realizing it yet. Silence makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. People can't stop what they can't see. The more mysterious your moves, the harder it is for anyone to block your progress. That's how God works too, quietly, behind the scenes, setting things in motion long before they manifest in public. You're the same way. You move in faith, not in noise, because when your time comes, no one will be able to deny what's been building in silence. When you embrace silence, you start walking differently. You don't chase approval. You carry authority. You don't argue. You execute. You don't explain. You elevate. Your silence becomes your strategy, your shield, your strength. It's not about avoiding people. It's about aligning with purpose. It's about staying grounded when everyone else is distracted. It's about building in private what will shine in public. Because the truth is, the more you talk, the more you reveal. But the more you build in silence, the more powerful your reveal becomes when the time is right. Energy is everything. It's the real currency of success. Money follows energy. Influence follows energy. Progress follows energy. And every day you make a choice. Are you going to spend your energy on growth, or are you going to waste it on gossip, drama, and distractions? Most people go broke not because they lack opportunity, but because they spend their energy in all the wrong places. They talk too much, react too quickly, and focus on things that don't move them forward. But the moment you realize your energy is sacred, everything changes. You begin to protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Where your energy goes, your life flows. When you waste it on negativity, you drain your potential. When you direct it toward progress, you create power that can't be stopped. You can't grow while feeding on gossip. Gossip is the diet of the unfocused. It's emotional junk food. It feels good in the moment, but leaves you empty afterward. Every time you engage in gossip, every time you speak about someone else's business, you delay your own, because your energy is being poured into something that produces zero return. Growth requires focus, and focus requires energy. If your mind is busy keeping track of other people's moves, how can you track your own? The world is full of noise, and it will do everything it can to pull you off your mission. But the strong don't feed that noise. They rise above it. They understand that discipline is not just about what you do, it's about what you don't do. You don't engage in useless conversations. You don't respond to meaningless drama. You don't chase validation from people who haven't built anything themselves. Every distraction has one purpose: to steal your energy. Every argument, every piece of gossip, every unnecessary debate is an energy leak. You can't control who talks about you, but you can control how you respond. Silence is power, but focus is fire. When you stop reacting to the noise, you start multiplying your results. You become efficient. You start doing more with less. You begin to operate on a higher frequency, one that people can feel but can't explain. That's the energy of someone who's locked in. Someone who doesn't have time to waste. Someone who's too busy building to be bothered. When your energy is focused, your presence changes. People can feel your direction, your intensity, your certainty. That's why you must treat your energy like your most valuable asset, because it is. Stop giving your energy to conversations that drain you. Stop trying to convince people who have already made up their minds about you. Stop explaining your dreams to small thinkers. Your purpose is too big for petty distractions. You can't expect elevation if you keep entertaining what's beneath your level. Growth demands energy, and energy demands boundaries. Every time you say no to a distraction, you say yes to your destiny. Every time you walk away from gossip, you walk closer to greatness. It's not about isolating yourself. It's about aligning yourself. You begin to surround yourself with people who multiply your energy, not those who drain it. You start to see how powerful peace really is, not because it's quiet, but because it's focused. The more intentional you are with your energy, the faster your life accelerates. You can't get to the next level with the same habits that held you down. If your energy is scattered, your results will be too. But if your energy is directed, consistent, and guarded, you become unstoppable. You stop living by reaction and start living by design. You begin to see that not every battle deserves your energy. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves a response. The people who make the most progress aren't the ones who do the most. They're the ones who waste the least. They invest their time, their focus, and their energy into actions that produce growth. They don't chase distractions. They chase destiny. When your energy is clean, your vision gets sharper. You start recognizing the difference between what looks urgent and what's truly important. You stop chasing validation because your energy is too valuable to be spent on convincing anyone of your worth. You learn that you don't need to respond to everything because your results will speak louder than your reactions. You stop allowing other people's noise to dictate your movement. You begin to rise, not by pushing others down, but by keeping your energy centered on growth. Because when your energy is focused on building, God starts matching that energy with blessings. Every ounce of energy you pour into faith, discipline, and purpose is multiplied in ways you can't imagine. That's when you start to notice What once drained you no longer even moves you. What once distracted you no longer gets your attention. You're operating at a higher frequency, and that's where elevation begins. Your focus determines your elevation. Whatever you give your attention to grows, and whatever you neglect fades away. Life rewards the focused, not the distracted. Most people never rise because they scatter their energy across too many things that don't matter. They chase every opportunity, react to every opinion, and end up exhausted with nothing to show for it. But when you decide to focus, when you make up your mind that your purpose is non-negotiable, that's when everything begins to change. Focus is the gateway to power. It's the ability to shut out the noise, to ignore what's irrelevant, and to give your full energy to the mission that actually moves your life forward. Distraction is the enemy of destiny. It doesn't always come disguised as something bad. Sometimes it looks like something good. A tempting side project, a conversation, a quick detour that slowly turns into a dead end. The problem is that every distraction divides your attention, and divided attention produces weak results. You can't master anything you only give half of yourself to. Focus demands discipline, and discipline demands sacrifice. You can't do everything and expect to win big. You have to choose what truly matters and cut off everything else. Every great success story is built on the foundation of ruthless focus. Those who rise to the top aren't necessarily the smartest or most talented. They're the most focused. When you focus, you begin to move differently. You stop chasing comparison and start chasing purpose. You stop reacting to what others are doing and start perfecting what you're building. Focus gives you direction. It eliminates confusion. It keeps you aligned with what God put inside you. You stop being controlled by what's urgent and start being led by what's important, because urgency is loud, but purpose is quiet. Urgency screams for attention, but purpose whispers with clarity. Focus allows you to hear that whisper in a world full of noise. It allows you to stay consistent when everyone else is distracted by trends and opinions. The people who stay focused long enough eventually outlast and outperform everyone who quit chasing one shiny object after another. When your focus is clear, your faith grows stronger. You stop questioning every obstacle and start understanding that every challenge is shaping your character. You stop seeing setbacks as signs of failure and start seeing them as steps toward elevation. Focus trains your spirit to see beyond the surface. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's next? You start to realize that God promotes the disciplined, not the distracted. If you can stay focused when it's slow, silent, or uncertain, that's when your elevation begins. Because focus builds momentum, and momentum is unstoppable once it starts moving. Focus also reveals who belongs in your journey. When you're serious about your mission, people who aren't aligned will naturally fall away. You won't even have to remove them. Your focus will do it for you. Because focus has a frequency and not everyone can match it. Some people thrive on confusion and drama, but when you're focused, you don't feed that. You start valuing your peace more than popularity. You start choosing productivity over attention. You stop trying to prove yourself and start improving yourself. And the higher you go, the quieter it becomes, because focus demands solitude. The crowd can't go where clarity takes you. Your focus determines your elevation because it determines your decisions. Every choice you make either feeds your future or fuels your frustration. When you stay focused on where you're going, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop needing validation from people who don't even understand your vision. You become immune to distraction because you know what's at stake. You begin to realize that God doesn't bless confusion. He blesses clarity. When you're focused, you send a message to heaven that you're ready for the next level. You're telling God, I can handle it. You're saying, I'm not here to be entertained. I'm here to be elevated. And that's when doors begin to open. Not because you forced them, but because your focus aligned with your faith. When your eyes are fixed on the mission, your elevation is guaranteed. Focus gives you authority. It gives you control over your emotions, your schedule, and your destiny. You start managing your time differently. You start managing your thoughts differently. You stop reacting to what doesn't deserve your reaction. You begin to understand that focus is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most with everything you've got. It's about giving your best to what God placed in your hands right now. Because when you pour all of yourself into purpose, God pours his favor into your life. That's how elevation happens, not by chance, but by focus. There comes a point in your journey where you realize that no matter how hard you try, some things are simply beyond your control. You can plan, you can prepare, you can give everything you've got, and still life will throw you moments that make no sense. That's where faith steps in. You do your part and you let God handle the rest. You stop trying to control outcomes that aren't yours to manage. You stop worrying about who supports you, who left, who misunderstood you. You understand that what's meant for you can't be taken by anyone, and what's not meant for you will never stay, no matter how tightly you hold on. Letting God handle what you can't control isn't giving up. It's leveling up. It's acknowledging that your strength has a limit, but his doesn't. It's the moment you release your need to fix everything and trust that the unseen hand of God is already arranging everything for your good. Control is an illusion that drains power from the soul. The more you try to control people, outcomes, and timing, the more frustrated you become. But when you learn to let go and trust God's process, peace replaces panic. You begin to realize that what felt like a setback was actually a setup. The delay was protection. The closed door was redirection. The rejection was alignment. You stop questioning, why is this happening to me? And start realizing this is happening for me because God sees the path ahead. And he's not trying to punish you. He's trying to prepare you. But preparation often comes wrapped in discomfort. It's in the seasons where nothing makes sense that your faith has to become your foundation. Letting God handle what you can't control doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means doing your best, giving your all, and then releasing the weight of the outcome. It means trusting that you've done your part and now God will do his. You keep moving forward, but you stop stressing over what's not moving fast enough. You stop begging for what's not meant for you and start believing that what is meant for you will find you, even if it takes time. You learn to breathe again. You learn to stop forcing things. You learn to rest while you're building because control creates tension, but faith creates flow. When you truly trust God, your mindset shifts. You stop reacting to every problem like it's the end. You start looking at challenges as training. Every delay becomes a lesson in patience. Every disappointment becomes a test of character. You begin to realize that God is not denying you. He's developing you. You can't ask for elevation and expect comfort at the same time. Sometimes God holds you back not because you're not ready to receive, but because the environment around you isn't ready to handle your blessing. The waiting season is not punishment. It's preparation. He's shaping your discipline, your resilience, your mindset, your humility. Because when he elevates you, he wants you to stay elevated. You start seeing peace as your proof. When you let go of control and start trusting God, the stress begins to fade. You stop needing to know how it will happen and start believing that it will happen. You stop chasing every door and start letting the right one open on its own. That's where divine alignment lives, in surrender, because surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's realizing that your perspective is limited, but God's vision is complete. You might not see the full picture yet, but he does. You don't know why something didn't work out, but he does. And if you trust him long enough, you'll see that everything you thought was falling apart was actually falling into place. When you let God handle what you can't control, you start living lighter. You stop overthinking every detail, stop replaying every mistake, stop worrying about every opinion. You replace anxiety with assurance. You replace fear with faith. You stop rushing and start resting in the knowing that God's timing is perfect. Every battle you release to him becomes a battle already won. Every door you stop forcing becomes an opportunity waiting to open at the right time. You stop trying to fix what only faith can fix. You stop running on exhaustion and start walking in expectation, because when you let God take the wheel, your life starts moving smoother, your spirit starts growing stronger, and your path starts aligning faster than anything you could have done by yourself. Success doesn't need to be announced. It needs to be built. The loudest people often have the least progress because they spend all their energy talking instead of producing. When you understand the real game of growth, you stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. You stop explaining your plans, your moves, your ideas. You stop trying to prove that you're working. You just work, because success speaks a language that noise can't imitate. It doesn't need validation. It demands respect. The moment you stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it, you shift from seeking approval to commanding attention. You start to realize that your time is too valuable to waste on trying to be understood by people who haven't even understood themselves. Explanations drain momentum. Every time you feel the need to explain your vision to someone who doesn't get it, you're wasting the energy that could have been used to execute it. People who are destined for greatness don't announce it. They show up, work, and let the outcome speak. You don't have to justify why you're changing, why you're growing, or why you're choosing peace over popularity. Let your consistency prove your seriousness. Let your results speak your truth. Every explanation is a distraction in disguise, pulling you away from the focus that builds real success. The world doesn't need your promises. It needs your proof. And proof is built in silence, one disciplined action at a time. There's something magnetic about quiet confidence. When you walk in purpose, you don't need to talk about what you're building because your energy already announces it. People can feel it without you saying a word. The more you focus on becoming, the less you feel the need to perform. You stop seeking validation because you're too busy producing results. Silence doesn't mean hiding. It means you're building something solid enough to speak for itself when the time comes. When your results show up, even your critics will have to acknowledge what you've built. They won't have to like you, but they'll have to respect the work. Success doesn't need an introduction. It arrives and it speaks for you. It's the silent answer to every doubt, every rumor, every opinion. When you execute relentlessly, you no longer have to defend yourself. Your success becomes your defense. You don't have to explain why you disappeared for a while, why you stopped going out, why you cut off distractions. When the results appear, it all makes sense. The same people who questioned your silence will later call it focus. The same ones who didn't understand your boundaries will eventually call them discipline. That's how success speaks, not in words, but in outcomes. The truth is, talking about your dreams can give you a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into feeling like you've already achieved something just because you've said it out loud. That's why you must learn to protect your vision until it's ready to be revealed. Keep it private, nurture it in silence, and let it grow roots before you show the fruit. Because when you reveal too soon, you invite opinions too early, and opinions can kill momentum. Protect your plans until they're too strong to be influenced by outside noise. Every successful person has a season where they go quiet. They're not missing. They're molding. They're not avoiding. They're advancing. They're behind the scenes building something that no one sees coming. When they finally step out, the results speak so loud that no one can deny what's been done. That's the power of silence. You don't need to convince anyone you're chosen. Your progress will show it. You don't need to explain your grind. Your growth will make it obvious. You don't need to announce your wins. Your transformation will be the announcement. When you live this way, you develop unshakable peace. You stop reacting to doubt. Stop explaining your silence. Stop giving energy to misunderstanding. You realize that words are cheap, but results are priceless. You don't owe the world a play-by-play of your journey. You owe yourself consistency, patience, and focus, because the real ones are not in the crowd clapping. They're behind the scenes creating. You become unstoppable not because you talk the most, but because you produce the most. Your consistency becomes your voice. Your discipline becomes your message. Your results become your reputation. That's why success will always speak louder than explanations, because words fade, but results echo forever. Discipline and faith are the two engines that drive divine acceleration. When they work together, nothing can hold you down. Discipline without faith turns into burnout, and faith without discipline turns into fantasy. You need both. Discipline is what keeps you consistent when results are invisible, and faith is what keeps you believing when logic says it's impossible. When you merge those two forces, your life begins to move differently. You stop operating on emotion and start operating on conviction. You stop waiting for motivation and start moving with intention. The people who experience breakthroughs aren't the ones who do something once and quit. They're the ones who show up every single day, even when nothing seems to be happening. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about repetition. It's doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's the choice to build when no one's watching, to stay focused when no one's clapping, to keep showing up when it feels like nothing's working. Every act of discipline is a seed, and faith is the water that keeps that seed alive until it breaks through the soil. You can't control how fast it grows, but you can control how long you stay committed. Most people quit because they expect instant results. They want progress without patience, victory without process, blessings without preparation. But divine acceleration doesn't happen by skipping steps. It happens when you stay faithful through the steps. When God sees consistency, He multiplies it. He rewards the one who keeps grinding in private, who keeps believing when others give up. Faith is not just belief, it's movement. It's trusting God enough to act even when the path is uncertain. You don't wait for proof. You move in purpose. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the next step. Faith says, I don't know how this will work, but I know it will. It's that confidence that turns delay into destiny. It's what makes you get up after failure, what keeps you building when the foundation is still invisible. Faith gives your discipline direction, because discipline without vision becomes routine, but when faith fuels it, every routine becomes preparation for promotion. You begin to understand that your consistency today is creating capacity for what's coming tomorrow. God accelerates those who can be trusted with the small things. Everyone wants to be elevated, but not everyone is willing to endure the process that builds elevation. Discipline is how you show God you're serious about your assignment. Faith is how you show Him you're ready for the next level. When you combine them, you send a signal to heaven that says, I'm ready for acceleration. That's when divine favor starts aligning opportunities you didn't even ask for. That's when doors open that were never supposed to open. When timing suddenly works in your favor, people will look at you and think it happened overnight, but they'll never see the nights you stayed consistent, the prayers you whispered when no one was listening, the times you believed when everything around you said it was over. There's something powerful about the person who stays disciplined in silence and faithful in stillness. They might not look like much in the beginning, but they're unstoppable because their foundation is built on obedience and trust. When you learn to trust God's timing while doing your part daily, you create unstoppable momentum. You're no longer chasing opportunities. Opportunities start chasing you. You stop worrying about when it will happen and start focusing on being ready when it does. That's how divine acceleration works. It doesn't mean skipping the grind. It means God speeds up the results for those who stayed committed in the dark. Discipline and faith together transform your entire mindset. You stop needing instant gratification because you understand delayed gratification brings lasting success. You stop doubting the process because you realize every small effort compounds into something bigger. You stop praying for blessings and start preparing for them. You become a magnet for favor because you've proven that you can handle the weight of responsibility. When discipline locks in and faith takes over, life begins to move with supernatural speed. The things that once took years start coming together in months. The doors that were shut begin to swing open without force. The situations that felt impossible start aligning effortlessly. That's the power of divine acceleration. It's not luck. It's the reward for discipline backed by faith.